What's going on YouTube? Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we have the release of the 250th Anniversary United States Army American Silver Eagle Proof Privy. So it's got a little Army Privy on there. I did find this video on YouTube, so I'm going to let it play in the background. So I'm in line. I don't think I made a purchase yet this year from the United States Mint, but I do make a purchase every year. This one's a little special to me because my grandfather was a World War II veteran, and I think they should make a coin just for his battalion, but that's just my personal opinion. He was part of the 442nd Regiment, the most highly decorated Army unit in U.S. history. And for those of you who are not familiar with that, it's kind of an embarrassment to the United States because they were primarily made up of Japanese Americans, so Japanese U.S. born citizens fought for our country in World War II while we placed their families that were not originally from the United States, that came over from Japan, while we placed their families in basically concentration camps, or they called them internment camps. And it's very interesting to hear the story with that. But they're releasing it today. It's $105, and the mintage limit is 100. I've watched some other channels where they say that the household limit used to be 3 coins. Now it's down to 1. They're only making 100,000 of these, and this video background shows how the coin is being made. So this is from the USA Military Channel. They're showing basically this coin already being produced. They released this video 2 days ago. So these are ready to go. Like, they're sitting at the US Mint. They're ready to ship them out. I do believe a lot of dealers who have like access to this, those dealers or large online resellers, they've already, maybe they're getting 10, maybe they're getting 100. I don't think any of them are getting 1,000, but a lot of the dealers that do a lot of business directly with US Mint already have coins allocated to them. So even though there's 100,000, I don't think there's going to be a lot available to the general public, because at the end of the day, the US Mint, they do want people to buy from them, but when it's something like this rare, when you're only making 100,000, that's a really super low number. They are selling for pre-sales, so already graded proof 70s, which is a pre-sale. They're already selling for $1,000, which is a lot. So think about it. You'd have to pick up one of these coins for $105, and if you haven't bought other stuff from US Mint, they'll probably charge you like $5 or $6 for shipping, no tax, and you would have to send it in to NGC to get graded. Some of these are like signed, I think, by the Herigal. I'm assuming that's the guy who designed the Privy, maybe. I'm not sure. Kind of ignorant to that. This one's signed by Michael Gassito, signed Army Corps, Camel Corps. That one's pretty cool. That's from a company called Coin Advisor. I bought stuff from them prior to the pandemic, like in 2019, and they did offer some good prices on some very unique coins. So, these large reseller of coins do have special slabs that they've created with NGC. I really haven't seen any PCGS, so it seems to be more of a NGC dominate thing. But anyways, that's $1,000. I think that's going to exceed 1,000, just because based on prior very limited release coins, especially the American Silver Eagle, which is the most popular design for a bullion coin. I think these will do nothing but go up, and they might, there might be that fear of missing out, so the prices might kind of peak a little bit, and then they'll kind of come down to reality. But I feel just the fact that there's only 100,000 of these, that it's going to hold its value. The best way to think about it is the 2020 75th, the V75 anniversary for World War II, the V75 Privy. Those still are commanding, $400 for a perfect grade, a 70. And I think even like the raw ones are still going for at least 350. So if you got in on that in 2020, I believe that coin was like 85 bucks. Maybe it was 80, because whatever. But yeah, we got a little inflation now. It costs you 105 to get into the game, but I'm pretty sure that 2020, and I did a video on that too, way back on my channel. But for those of you that got that from the U.S. Mint back in 2020 and sent it in to get graded and got a perfect 70 grade, you didn't lose money. You definitely didn't lose money if you got a 70 grade. You didn't lose. I don't think you lost money if you got a, well, if you get a 69 grade, it's kind of like the same as a raw one, because people will buy a raw one with the box and everything from you, um, with hopes of sending it in themselves and getting a 70. But let's face it, like getting a 70 on a proof Silver Eagle with the Army Privy shouldn't be that difficult. They're not making a ton of these. They are made at the West Point Mint. Um, Here's what they look like when they're striking them. This is like the cool part of the video. So you see the mint worker there literally placed it in there with some pretty large tongs. They stamp them out, and I mean they even show like the blank polishing here. So they put them in these big vats here to make sure the just the blank is in mirror-like finish. And then I notice, so after that comes out, it's actually struck. It looks like the die or the whatever, the press, it like stamps it 3 times. It's like 1, 2, 3, and then it comes out and looks absolutely gorgeous. And then they get these into an encapsulation right away. And they're not hand capsulizing these. There's machines that basically, with a suction cup, grab the coin, put it in a capsule, and then another capsule, just encapsulates it, which is kind of cool. So they don't really get to see air very very long, right? So once it's polished, it gets put in, into a capsule, and it's like an environmentally controlled thing too. Like there's not dust flying around. I'm pretty sure the people working there, they have to be like in suits, because people don't want like little pieces of dust or hair on, although it sometimes does get on there, right? And it'll be interesting too if there's actually going to be any errors. I doubt it, but I don't think these are going to be misstruck. I'm pretty sure that machines they have now will figure out if something's not struck correctly, and they'll just toss it back in with the other blanks to get melted. So anyways, I think my theory is, again, just based on history of when they create these rare American Silver Eagles. Here I am. I am ready to buy it. I'm queued up. I've been queued up for the last hour. So I said, you know what, might as well make a video on this. But I've been queued up for the last hour. I don't think I'm going to get one, but I do have my information already in the system. I have bought many, many coins from the U.S. Mint, not this year, but in years past, even last year. And I have I made sure my payment information and my address was completely updated. That's very important. So if you're going to check out, you want to make sure that's good to go. So anyways, my theory is these are going for 1,000. This might be though that $2,000 or $2,500 coin. I'm not sure, but it is possible. Just because someone that collects coins and that was in the Army and has a lot of money, which a lot of Army veterans do have a lot of money. The ones that work really, really hard or, get some great job or whatever. There's a lot of retired Army men and women in the United States, and some of them have some pretty deep pockets, or they have a relative or someone that served the Army, like in the case of myself, with my grandfather, who got the Purple Heart. He got the Silver Star Medal. He was a medic in World War II. They put those guys like to fight the front lines, all the stories I heard from him. And he was 18 years old, right? So what would you rather do as an 18-year-old? You're forced to live in this camp. America has taken away all your freedom. They forced his father to sell the farm, sell the car, sell everything. Just get rid of everything. You got a week's notice. Sell everything that you've owned, that you worked hard for in the United States, and go live in this internment camp. So my grandfather was 18 years old at the time. As an 18-year-old would think, this sucks. I'm living basically, the United States has put me in a camp with my family, and the only way out was to join the army. And they sent him to Hawaii to basically train because they didn't trust training uh, anyone that looked Japanese, even though he was American, in the United States main territory. They send him in an island to get trained, and then straight from Hawaii to go go to the front lines. And he was a medic, so he saw a lot of casualties, countless whatever that he saw. I mean, definitely a huge sacrifice. And as a child, I remember him. He always had a winking eye, and when I got older, I asked my parents, like, why is we called him Oppa because he married a German lady. But again, he was Japanese, and they said he has a piece of shrapnel in his eye from the world from World War II, and he never got the piece of shrapnel taken out. So he's always like constantly winking. Um, he never used the VA for benefits. He never got retirement from the VA. He just didn't trust the U.S. government, right? So, anyways, he survived. Obviously, eventually he did get his eye fixed, and Ronald Reagan, gave them reparations. I think they got like 10 grand or something, something significant, because I know one day that he got some monetary amount from it. But it was it's kind of embarrassing, right? It's like, how does $10,000 or whatever they got replace the fact that you got your freedoms taken away from you? You had to sell everything. Now, he didn't have much. He was 18 years old, but I mean, he, you just were forced to sell everything and bring a suitcase, and we're going to stick you in this camp. So it's very embarrassing for the United States, which this coin doesn't commemorate, right? But I strongly believe the U.S. Mint or Congress should create a coin just for that regimen. But it's tough, right? Because it's very embarrassing for our country, because we're always like saying land of the free, but not when someone of not when another country bombs us, and then we then put everyone that looks Japanese or is related to a Japanese in an internment camp. So, but anyways, he got his reparations. It was a little, it was a little thank you. And before he passed, I remember when Obama was president, they decided to any surviving Japanese Americans that were in the army or that fought for a country in World War II while their family was in internment camps received the highest Medal of Honor, the Civilian Medal of Honor. And I remember him getting the mailer piece. I didn't keep it. My grandma showed it to me, and she, unfortunately, my grandfather was kind of like losing his mind to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and stuff, amongst other things. He had many heart attacks. He had cancer, the colon, all these medical things that he survived. He lived till he was like 81 years old. But they wanted to charge him for the price of the Civilian Medal of Honor as well as shipping. And I won't tell you what he said, but he basically told Obama to stick the medal up his ass. Well, maybe I just told you what he said, but he did not order the medal. He didn't care about it. He already had done his time. He didn't need a medal honoring him what he did for our country and many other Japanese Americans at the time. And unfortunately, like most of them have passed. And he was a younger one, right? He was 18 years old when he went in there, hanging out with a bunch of 22, 23-year-old Hawaiians. I'm sure that's where he learned all his gambling, smoking, drinking. What else are you going to do when you're 18 years old and surrounded by a bunch of younger 20 guys in their 20s? But anyways, that's just the story about it. That's not saying what this coin commemorates by any means. It's just honoring the United States Army 250th anniversary, which most people don't realize, like, there was an army before World War II. There was an army before World War I. We had to have an army to defend our homeland before we were traveling to other countries and fighting for others and other people's freedom. So, but a little bit of an interesting story, right? Your family's in a internment camp. you're fighting for the freedom of America, but while your family is not free, they're forced to live in a camp, and now you're going to foreign lands like Italy and Germany to fight not Japanese, because that would be weird, but to fight the Germans and the Italians. And they're the most highly decorated unit ever in U.S. history, period. And I remember growing up as a kid, I'm like, why isn't this in the history books? Like, like Saving Private Ryan, all these movies that kind of glorify it. But none, no, there's really no movie that had, I mean, they've made movies about it, but they're kind of like, straight to VHS at the time or straight to DVD movies. But there's a lot of stories that will go untold because it's not like these guys bragged about it either. They were highly decorated, those that did survive, but they, I don't know, it's just Japanese. They're different. They don't brag about stuff. You know what I mean? They just do. They just do their job. So he was the first in the morning to grab the paper while it was still hot. He grabbed the Chicago Tribune on the daily. I remember as a child, he would wake up like whatever it was, 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock, whenever that paper first hit, and he'd get his cigarettes, his coffee, and he'd read the paper before I even like woke up. I just remember waking up and then there was my grandfather. I called him Opa, reading the paper while I was eating my cereal or whatever. So, anyways, that's just my personal story with it. I know it's a little different, but um, every what I'm getting at is like every coin kind of has. I shouldn't say kind of has. There's a reason like you'll spend $105, or there's a reason why someone will pay $400 for a graded one. You got the side of the hobby that is just wants it because they collect coins, and there's others like myself that really take it to heart because it's like I think anything with the Army Privy is really cool, and it has a little bit of a deeper meaning to me. It's not about the money. So if I do get the chance to buy it on the U.S. Mint's website today, I will do a video on it. I doubt I'll be able to get one. Maybe I can get one later, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of other channels that'll show the coin. But I just wanted to share that uh, story with you on what that privy mark means to me. And I did get accepted to West Point. I was about to serve our country as well, but my hippie mother, or I shouldn't say hippie. She was a little young to be a hippie, but she didn't want me having any part of it because she was raised by my grandfather. That wasn't her, or not by my grandfather. So she was raised by her father figure, but that wasn't like her real dad because she came here from Germany um, with her mom, and her mom, my Oma, met my grandfather at a breakfast place. So my grandmother, my blood grandmother, met my, I guess you call him my step grandfather, but he's always been my grandfather since I was a baby, and that's an interesting story in itself because she was an immigrant from Germany, West Germany, from Munich, and she was a waitress, and she met my grandfather um, while she was serving him breakfast, and he gave her $100 tip, which I think was insanity back in the 60s or whatever when they met, and they were already like older too. Like I think they were already like in their late 30s, and my grandfather was already 40 years old when he married my grandmother. But what an interesting story. You got a Japanese American fought for our country while his family was in internment camps, and got all these medals, decorations. God knows what he saw, and obviously he had a thing for German ladies because when the war ended, all these Japanese Americans were parked in Germany because we had defeated that country and done the cleanup or whatever. And later on in life, he ends up meeting a German lady that he liked, and he ends up marrying her. So, pretty interesting story there, right? That's a little unique. I don't think anyone has that story to tell. And I'm not Japanese. I'm not Japanese. Again, he was. I always consider him my grandfather, but sorry. Wow, I miss him a lot. Oh, anyways, wasn't planning on crying, but I miss you, Grandpa.